eager enough to get their team set, to get their car set up, to get their car to the maximum and select their best setup of their interest for their drivers to get it ready and get it going for the Grand Prix. Of course, a huge turn one as well. It's a huge turn one we go to, so it's definitely a big turn one it would be. And it'll be pretty interesting to see who handles the lead. Is Nimble going to be able to stay where he starts? Is everybody else going to be able to stay where they start? Or anyone's going to attack from behind? And is it going to be Phoenix? Is it going to be anyone else? Or someone we maybe not expect is going to come out on top today? Or is going to be Nimble the man once again to get it to the top, and 2 in a row? And only time will tell. And these 36 laps are about to be very crucial here in this Mexican City Grand Prix. There we go, it is time. And it is, which should be 5 red lights, and we go racing it is. Here at the Mexico City Grand Prix, we see an RB in second place, and it is of Phoenix. It is of Phoenix, and Nimble has managed to get past, has managed to stay in first place so far. But the man, the Goblin it'll be, who's coming at him, who's going to go into first, into turn 1. It will be on the inside line, the Alpine, but he's going to be able to stay in second place but not jump Nimble. Nimble has managed to stay in first place, and he's going as smooth as he could so far. And I think there is jump of positions and switch of drivers in this race so far. So we've had someone disqualified from the session as well, and that is Angry Badger, who's done it already, as we see a lot of action around here at the back of the grid as well. It is a very long turn 1, and it is very smooth, and it's not smooth at all, and I think it would be definitely not good for some of the drivers as we try and get the details that we would want. As it stands though, everybody is starting on the medium tire except for the 2 of Jonathan and Shane Bolin, who started on the hard compound tire. Nimble has managed to stay in first place, and it's a P9. Demir is in P9 at the moment. I think he's had a disastrous of a start. I wonder where he started, but that's definitely not a good one for him. But the one man who would be in pressure would be Goblin, who should be in very big pressure from Block at the moment, who's right behind him. And of course Block is going to use all of his ERS to try and overtake Goblin into turn 1. The Alpine driver is going to do everything to defend, but is he going to be able to do that? Not sure though. And that is going to be an overtake from Goblin into turn 1, and the kick Sauber driver just manages to get into second place, and that is pretty interesting. We just have a great overtake at the moment, but is he going to come back at him? Goblin would, but I don't think so. And there is a huge lockup, and another overtaking opportunity might not be there, and there should be one for Shane Bolin at the moment, who just gets ahead of One Kidney Jim. And he's taking it very nicely. Hope you're enjoying the stream as One Kidney Jim comes back at him, and Shane Bolin's going to lose not one but might lose more positions as well. As it stands, it's going to go across, and he's going to lose another position, and Demir is going to get ahead of him just in time, and that is very cool, as Shane Bolin definitely might be able to lose another few more positions as well. I think it's not him, it's the AI racing, because his car is completely ghosted, as Rayan currently gets ahead of him as well. Rayan, the man who finished P4 in Australia at the moment. This is not looking good for him, as now there is switch of positions, as Nimble is getting fastest lap over fastest lap, but Block gets it better this time. at the end of lap 2. He might be in pressure from Goblin, as of course DRS would be enabled on this very lap, as it is very interesting. Is he going to have a go at him? He does not have a go at him, and there's a yellow flag, and there's a huge disaster as the other Ferrari, currently in 16th place, has no front wing to himself, and he must have had a disaster, as he's going to come back. As we're having a look at other cars as well, I don't see any damage on any of these other cars, but there might be, and if there is, that would not be any beneficial at all. And there we go, we're seeing Baton try and go around the outside, the Alpine behind them as well. Baton and Rayan have a look at it and have a fight around it for 9th place as it stands. Actually, One Kidney Jim currently comfortable in P8, but for how long? For how long one man, Nimble, would be comfortable in his lead? Currently 1.9 seconds, almost 2 seconds the gap, and out of the DRS range of Block so far. Block got the fastest lap on the previous one, but hasn't managed to gain on this lap, and I think Nimble is going to put another fastest lap at this time, and it's going to be Rayan, and Little has done it. It was not the Williams, it was not the kick Baton in fact did it, and then Rayan losing all those positions, currently in P11 at the moment. He definitely would have wanted to stay ahead, but he's not been able to do so. And now Block has been attacked by the Alpine, and he's back into 3rd place, and behind them is fighting these guys. It is Ali and it is Felix Gray fighting it out very, very hard. Aston Martin versus the Visa Cash App RB car. It's very, very interesting. Still wheel to wheel into the next corner. They're going to go. Phoenix going to have the inside line. Is he going to be late on the brakes? He definitely not will be, and it'll be Ali who takes 4th place at the moment and sticks up to it. We're only on lap 4, and so many fightings and so many battles that we're having on the track, which would be very, very interesting to see. And definitely that is Rayan currently in 14th place. Something massively went wrong for him, and he's fallen back drastically, which he would have not wanted, and that is definitely not good for him. As it stands, it is Baton currently in 9th place, still keeping up 9th place. And there we go, both cars go wide, and One Kidney Jim has managed to spin off and managed to go off the track, and that is going to be very disaster for the Aston Martin driver. That is not what he would have wanted. I think he was there fighting and defending, trying to defend his place as hard as he could, but all the pressure that builds up all the laps around we go the Grand Prix track, and it always adds up to it, and you always end up making a mistake. And we can see that on One Kidney Jim currently from the points to P13. That has definitely ended up disastrously for him though. But I'm sure he's going to try and attack back, as we're seeing one more time position switches between the Alpine and a kick Sauber driver especially. And there we go, one more time. Baton's going to come back at him, but there would be a proper chance for him. He goes on the grass, that's the Alpine. But who's going to be on top at the end of the sector 1? It will be the Alpine. Baton has to back out then. The fight for P8 is still on and still going strong, but the one for P2 is still on as well, as through the S's these guys go. It's very, very interesting it would be, as Rayan now pits. I think he had a disaster and then had to pit, and so did One Kidney Jim. And these guys, this special pack, I think it will be very interesting to see the top two to P2 and P3 as well. But before that, these guys are on the main straight, and I think far away is Goblin of Block. But who's going to be coming out on top, and who's going to be in first place? Into turn 1 they go. It will not be Block, but it will be Phoenix Gray, who's fighting it out there with Ali one more time, and this time he takes P4 comfortably. But I think into turn 1 he took it before as well, but there could be a proper chance for Ali to come back, as there's another DRS zone now. But who's going to be able to do that? He's going to have that overtake to defend, but he's not going to deploy that at all so far. But he's managed to keep it. He's managed to keep his 4th place. But oh my god, as we see how much ERS does Ali have left, he's so much of it. But one man who doesn't have much of it is this one, little Drips, who's currently in 9th place, fighting Baton for the 8th one. For 8th, and it'll be very, very interesting to see how it stands, as it is currently lap 6 out of 36, whole 30 laps of the Grand Prix action that we are waiting before we could see the checkered flag, but I'm sure it's going to be very interesting for every single one of them. I think only 2 drivers have stopped in this race so far. As we see a fight, and there is a yellow flag, and that is an Aston Martin on one kidney gym. Another spin at the exact same place, I believe. He spun a bit earlier as well on the same place on track, and he's done it once again, and that's definitely not beneficial for him or for the Aston Martin team. And this time on the inside, goes for it, does Ali, who's going to be late on the brakes, and he's managed to jump him then, get into 4th place. He used all of his ERS that he had saved on the previous lap. It comes to use now, and Jonathan now with the help of that DRS as well might have a go at Phoenix as well into the end where they're going to go of Sector 1, and that is going to be P5 for Phoenix Grey at the moment, still keeping it out there. So lap 7 out of 36, and a pit stop for Fun Kidney Gym now. I think previously he did not stop, and as Block gets another penalty, and I think that is probably going to be, as it stands, podium hopes over for him. He might even finish outside the top 5 as well. As seeing position switches then, but that was because of some of the drivers pitting and the others not. And as it stands, Daddy Cool and Shane Bolin fighting for P11. That doesn't really mean anything in terms of points, but sure, they can overtake each other and go forward. One more, and there is a spin, and that is Demir. He spun it, and his hopes and Visa and RB's hopes of scoring only points are done and dusted at the moment. But is Phoenix going to be able to do something? Is he going to do that? He has the inside line from far away, but so does Jonathan, and it will be that Red Bull, or will be the sister team who's going to come out on top. We just lose that little bit of action, and we're still on board with them now. Is Phoenix going to be able to come back at him? But it's going to be very interesting to see. He doesn't have DRS. In fact, it was the Red Bull that had the DRS, but it's pretty interesting how it stands. Demir had a huge spin and falls back, and he's pitted for the soft compound tire pretty much, having to make another pit stop in the race any time soon. He would have to pit, of course. You can't go to the end on those soft tires. And now we are waiting, as One Kidney Gym's got a 3-second time penalty as well for that, for going off the track multiple times. And they're now Shane Bolin currently in 9th place. Of course, some drivers pitting. Demir definitely would have caused that, because as it stands, Drips and Baton are fighting for P8, P7, as they were fighting for P8 at the moment. One position up for each driver, and one might be up for Phoenix there. He has a proper chance of overtaking Jonathan one more time into turn 1. Is he going to be late on the brakes? Is he going to have enough time to overtake him? I'm sure he will be able to do that. And into turn 1, it will be smooth sailing for Phoenix. And one more time, the sister Red Bull comes on top instead of the main one. But is he going to be able to attack back Jonathan with that help of that DRS? But this time he doesn't get that help. I think on the previous lap he did so, but this time he doesn't. And definitely that shows up, as Phoenix is able to stay in 4th place at the moment. And as it stands, actually it's 3-second time penalty for Block, so that it doesn't matter at all, even if he finishes at where he is. And Nimble at the moment 5 seconds clear of the 5 seconds clear of the driver in 2nd place. He's doing a fantastic job as well. The drivers in P2 and P3 are definitely going to have a very, very interesting job to do as well. As we'll go on to the main straight with the help of that DRS and that spin, and that little lose of the rear end has got hopes over for Goblin, and that's going to be very bad. He comes into the pits where he said he doesn't come into the pits, and he crossed that pit entry line, white line, and that might be a problem for him, because that is going to result in a penalty if you do it in real life. And that is definitely from delight to disaster for him, currently comfortably running in P2 as Jonathan overtakes Phoenix one more time. It is very, very interesting. I think the fight that, there we go, the Alpine was up in with Baton, and into turn 1 they go. It is very, very close between these two. It's very close for comfort, at least you could say that. And Goblin has managed to still stay in the top 6 though, because he hasn't pitted, but the fight he was having with but the better Kick Sauber driver is going to have with Baton, who's not saying that he's not a good driver, but P2, of course, would have been a better caliber than P7, but I'm sure Goblin is going to try and defend that, and at least finish it as high as he can do that after such spin. Only recovery could be there, and I think Ali's currently in P5, and that the positions that these guys are fighting for were P4 as maximum as they could go with their pace, but now that has promoted them for a podium chance of any of these guys. Felix Gray has a proper chance for the podium, so does Ali, and Jonathan, who finished P5, and the race in Australia, has a proper chance to finish in the top 3. Is he going to be able to do that, or is he going to be denied by any of the drivers behind? As it stands, he's managed to hold on to that, and someone else has retired, and it is Zon who's retired one more time, and there's another position switch between these two. It's again Little Drips, Baton, and anyone, and Baton has spun it, and Drips, who I think went into the back of Baton, and that gets him front wing damaged, and both the Alpines now had their moments and have had themselves spin off, and that is definitely both Alpines from fighting to the best positions they could are not anymore even in their best top 5, and none of them. And front wing damage, both front wing end plates missing for Little Drips, and that means that is going to be a trip to the pits for him then. Both Alpines having their spuns and having their worst moments, and now that has definitely allowed Shane Boland, who was at one moment running out of the points and has a proper chance to go for that overtake, and he does it. You don't usually see drivers overtaking there, but he's done it. Screaming out loud, it is P7 for Shane Bowling. Baton, I think even after spinning out, the Alpine driver has not been able to keep up to that place, because Shane Bowling is coming like a rocket right behind him, and that has managed to keep up the position into turn 1 so far comfortably as it stands, as it will be. Rayan and Cinders both on the hard compound tire, and I think both of them have fitted as well, because as it stands, Little Drips a trip to the pits, as I said, and his hearts come off, and his mediums go on. I think it'll be very interesting, and there is a position switch as Rayan goes past Cinders, and I think Rayan had to pit very early in the Grand Prix. Both the drivers pitted very early in the race, and that has resulted, they haven't gained any position so far, but 2 retirements. One is a disqualification, the other was a retirement, I think. That has allowed all the others, as now Block still running in 8th place, currently 8 seconds behind the race leader Nimble, but 4.6 ahead of 2nd place, and Jonathan, it was going to be Phoenix, and it is Jonathan now, look up for one of them. And once again, it's pretty interesting how it goes. We'll be able to see what these guys can do, and the Alpine's going to come back out of those. Goblin, of course, remember, for fighting for top 2, has managed to come out against these guys, and it's a very, very late on the brakes move from Goblin. I think sure he has the pace for it, and he's going to try and do it. Every driver actually has the same, not every driver, but almost each of them has the same helmet design, thanks to EA for not providing any helmets at all for free. So that's understandable as it stands. Hope you're enjoying the stream, and if you are, so make sure to follow if you're new around here. We'll be coming out with such streams every other day. So not every other day, but every week. So it'll be very interesting. We're on lap 14 out of 36. As Block now comes into the pits. Maybe he tries and undercuts Nimble, but there is a proper chance. Or I think his race rather would be with Jonathan, who he tried to undercut, and he's done 15 laps or 14 laps on those mediums, and now those are off. And now chances for Block coming out. Where does he come out? He comes out just ahead of his teammate, who might get ahead of him into turn 1. Is he going to get ahead of him or allow him to get comfortably ahead of him in turn 1 to have a little bit of fresh breath of fresh air. But Baton might try and go at his teammate. It'll be very interesting to see what he does. It's very close. They're almost clipping the front wing of the Aston Martin. There does Phoenix, and it is Goblin who's managed to bump all of these guys again. Definitely, even after spin, he's recovered massively. That mistake to performance, a mistake to recovery it is for Goblin, but I don't think you can say that unless we're at the checkered flag and at lap 36. We're only on lap 15 and slight lockup from not one but two of the drivers there, and now Jonathan comes back at him once again, and maybe that little rear wing of rear front tire of Jonathan there, but Goblin now comes into the pits. I think he is definitely, this is the response of him on Block, who pitted. Block at the moment coming just around on the main straight. He's having to fight his teammate who just comes into the pits as well. I think Goblin currently trying to exit the pit lane. Who's going to come out on top? But I think Block has went past them very, very early, and that is going to be good position gain for him. But these guys are giving it their all. It was Phoenix at one point falling all behind, but it is Jonathan now who's just gotten overtaken by Ali as well. It is very interesting to see who really comes out on top from these guys. As it stands, Phoenix in second place, but of course all drivers ahead of Block are yet to pit. So that would be very interesting to see when everyone does pit, and where do they come out. It'll be very, very interesting moment to see as they will be going into the next corner. Try and get back with the racing action. Apologies for that. As there you go. I think Phoenix has just went into the pits, and he definitely has, but these two have not. And these guys are still going to fight each other out, and that will be one more time Jonathan into turn 1, a carbon copy of the previous overtake, and he does it one more time, and again he's in second place. But the fight that was with Block and Shane Bolin at the moment currently in P5, but of course Phoenix who has pitted, and Phoenix almost gets overtakes Goblin, but he's gotten overtaken by Goblin, and he's been undercut by Goblin then. But it would be interesting to see where everything pans out. I think Block has to be a great pit stop for him. I think that mistake from the Alpine driver really benefited, in fact, the Kick Sauber driver, which definitely resulted pretty nicely for the driver for Block, and that definitely helps him for the race lead and for that constructors title, as well as Baton currently in P9 as well. So actually only team Kick Sauber whose drivers are in the points, the RB as well. And there's a spin, and I think it's going to be Kidney Jim once again, and he's retired out of the race. I wonder if he's crashed or it's another issue with him, but he's managed to retire out of the Grand Prix, and we're now on board. We're now having a look at Phoenix, and there we go. We're on Nimble now. Nimble, as fitted, just comes out just ahead of Block, and I think that gap, which is more than 5 seconds now, just stands out to 2.6 seconds. It is a very good lap from Block, then putting a fastest lap of the Grand Prix. I think he's able to do that more than once, but overall it's not been good for him though. We'll see how it stands in overall times. It would be very interesting to get it long for Nimble and for Block as well. And it's only 1.4 seconds now, I think. Nimble, this is disastrous for Nimble. He's going to still try and... Okay, it's not 1.1 seconds actually. It was Nimble's gap to Jonathan. It's far away for Block though. Sorry for the inconvenience. Nimble's almost going to overtake. But no overtake. Jonathan back even after pitting though. Jonathan definitely now should be coming into the pits, because that is going to be a disaster for him if he's not going to do that. He doesn't do that, so he tries to go long and probably try and race all the drivers behind the likes of Goblin, Phoenix and everyone, that he's going to try and overcut them. But at the moment Jonathan now gets overtaken by Nimble. Nimble now back into the race lead after a pit stop. So now everyone in this race has pitted except for Jonathan, I think. As we're going to have a look at that. And in fact, it's not only Jonathan, it is 3 drivers, the likes of Daddy Cool, Shane Bolin, and Jonathan, who have not pitted in the race so far. And now it will be Jonathan. We are having a look at it again. He's 2.2 seconds behind Nimble at the moment, but that is a whole pit stop behind for him. As it stands, he might be coming out very, very far behind. But how far can he go long from here? Because for how long can he go from here? Because that is only gonna go against him if he's not able to do good enough on those tires. But he believes he can do so. And I think that might be a very good overcut attempt for him that he's trying to get all those drivers out there. But because at the moment he's pit stop behind of Block and Nimble. And Shane Bolin has not pitted though. He's currently in P4 just out of Goblin and Phoenix, who are pretty much going to be promoted to a new position very, very soon, as everybody ahead of them pits would be. But Phoenix has been managing to stay just behind Goblin and staying close up to him, because Goblin, after that mistake, has fallen drastically behind, but has recovered very well, actually. Very, very well recovery for him, as we have 13 drivers remaining for the Grand Prix for out of 16 as it stands. Lap 19 out of 36 laps. We're halfway, just a little lap more than halfway distance through the race so far. It is lap 19 out of 36, and Nimble currently comfortably leads the Mexico City Grand Prix by 5.5 seconds from Jonathan, who's just 2 seconds ahead of Block. And is he going to come into the pits? He does not do that anymore. I'm very excited to see what he has in mind though, because Shane Bolin now ahead of everyone out there, but he's not pitted as well. And there's a spin, and that might be, and that is from Cinders, the Ferrari, another Ferrari, and that has definitely would not ended how he would have wanted it. He's managed to stay in the race though, I think, but he would not be going anywhere from that mistake at all. And a huge lockup from Goblin there. He's going to try and go over, get ahead of Shane Bolin. Then, of course, on old tires, on 19-lap old hard tires, should not be holding off a lot more than that. And I think Phoenix is going to want to overtake Shane as well. But these guys are going to go wheel to wheel, and a huge lockup from Goblin there. That is only first mistake by Shane Bolin. That is going to be done by him, and that's going to be only go against him. But Phoenix now going to try and overtake him, get ahead of him. But as it stands, he's managed to defend, and Shane Bolin's definitely only helping Goblin at this point, and he's got the penalty, and that is not going to benefit him at all as well. Another yellow flag and another spin, and that is a little Drips then having a spin, and there is a Ferrari and another Ferrari spin, and finally Jonathan comes into the pits and does what we were wanting him to do, make a pit stop and definitely enjoy it. But let's see where does he come out. He definitely is trying to make the race long, as that's what he was trying to do, get the race done for himself, a different tire than everybody else around. So that'll be very interesting to see. Comes out in P7, and everybody ahead of him has pitted. So Shane Bolin is yet to pit. So that is going to be P7 for Jonathan as it stands. But I'm sure he's going to be able to do something on those medium tires that he's on at this point. Definitely want to use those tires out, and he would want to do use of those tires a lot more than we know. And sure, now he has just a little more than 10 laps of the Grand Prix, about 15 to 16 on those medium tires. I think that is going to be very, very nice, having the tire advantage towards the end of the Grand Prix, and that is going to be very, very nice to see what he's able to do to the end. Well, we're focused on now these guys once again. Jonathan's got a big gap to P6 at the moment, but there is a good chance for Phoenix to try and go ahead of Goblin now. Phoenix definitely would try and go get on the podium and have his chances of a Formula 1 podium here at the Mexico City Grand Prix, and he's out of ERS all day long. He might be in pressure from Ali behind as well. I think Ali hasn't done much though. He's staying just behind these guys, and I think any mistake from any of those two drivers is going to result in Ali's delight. So I think he's just waiting for this at this point of the race. So many drivers at the point has a penalty at the moment. Out of 13 on track. Of 13, 8 of them have a penalty for them. It would be only Nimble, Goblin, and the bottom 3 to not have a penalty. Demir currently out of the point, so that actually makes Alpine and Kick Sauber to be only teams having both of their cars in the top 10. And Alpine just nearly has it as it stands. So we're going to just go ahead to this pack one more time, and it'll be Phoenix who's going to try and make a move on Goblin this time on the Alpine. There's a proper chance for him. Is he going to go on the inside line? And he's going to go on the inside line into turn 1. He's going to make that move successful, and that is going to be P3 for Phoenix. But for how long? As now he's going to have that DRS. Will Goblin? He will not. In fact, it's one DRS detection zone. But even without that, he's going to have a go at it around the outside. But Phoenix is going to be just a little later on the brakes. But Goblin's going to try and come back. It's very, very close. Phoenix is going to lose all those positions. And even Ali's now ahead of him. But he's going to come back at him. Try and get past. But can he do that? So far, so good. For Phoenix, not at all. And that's going to be disaster for P3 to P5. But I think it's very interesting. It is 13 laps of the Grand Prix remaining at the end of this one. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how the very end of the Grand Prix session as it stands. And as Shane pitted, and Jonathan has managed to get one position to himself, but for how long it's going to take him before he's closing on Phoenix and the pack of the 3 drivers there. These guys having their own race it is. Jonathan and Shane Bolland and Baton. Baton was having a race with little Drips, but I think Drips' mistake has costed him. And now Ali once again loses that position into turn 1. But Ali doesn't lose a position. In fact, he gains it into P3, and podium hopes for the Aston Martin drivers are alight once again. His teammates retired, but sure, he doesn't want to do that, and doesn't give up on the podium so far. And there's a proper chance, and okay, so there was a McLaren out on track alongside the Kick Sauber, but it's a lapped car, so that doesn't matter at all for these guys. That is definitely going to be delighted. Podium for Block as it stands, because it is P2 for him, and the gap behind is 14.3 seconds, so that is a huge gap. Not only Nimble's winning by a huge gap, but Block is in a league of his own as well. One more time we're going to see Ali in P3. He's going to try hard and try so hard to defend his 3rd place. But is he going to be able to do that? Having the gap to Goblin only with 5/10 and to Phoenix as well. They're together almost gelled up as a pack. But who's going to be on top? Is he going to be able to defend? Not sure though. And he definitely will not be able to defend. He's lost already one position. One position he's lost. He's going to lose 2 into turn 1 we go. But he will not, in fact. He manages to stay in the 4th place and manages to defend that. But is Phoenix going to have that battery to try and deploy? Ali has all of it. Phoenix doesn't, and that definitely results in Phoenix staying in P5. There we go. It is lap 25 out of 36. Just a little less, just a little more than 10 laps of the Grand Prix remaining now. As it stands, it is pretty clear who's going to be the Grand Prix winner. But Jonathan, let's have a look at the Jonathan then. He's currently 2.7 seconds behind Phoenix there. He's going to try and catch up with that pack very, very soon as well. And I think that is going to be very exciting to see that, because that'll be very interesting if he's going to be able to do that, because that medium tire and that tire difference that's going to make, and Ali gets breezes past Goblin there for P3 once again. We're seeing just position switches and carbon copies of these guys overtakes every other lap. As it stands, the McLaren of Ryan currently in P11. Demir, who's currently in P10, over 9 seconds ahead of Ryan. Then I think he's going to try and he's going to try and bring points home for the RB team, as RB and Kick Sauber drivers, the ones that are in the points for both the cars, and Daddy Cool, with others retiring, that has allowed the McLaren driver to have some chances of point scoring positions as well. And now receives a penalty. Jonathan, one of those who did not have one, but he receives a penalty as well. So as it stands, it would be Block, who's far, far ahead of all these guys. And Ali pretty much losing on the podium with his penalty, but Goblin probably going to finish P3 on track. And after that, it'll be all the others who are pretty much, I think, on track time would be applied, because they're, of course, within 3 seconds of each other, and everyone behind has a penalty as well. Goblin now gets past to P3 once again. These three have fought all race long and have fought fantastically so far. Clean and racing they go. Now they only hold 10 laps remaining. It is lap 27 out of 36. It's only getting past lap by lap around here, and it's pretty interesting to see. Both Ferraris are very good, very close to each other for the first time out on track, but one is the leader, the other is the slowest car. Gets lapped by his teammate. Nimble's probably going to carry the whole Ferrari team on his shoulders for the Constructors title as well. And now we're going to have a look at these guys are actually having a race-long battle in. Baton and Shane Bolin at the moment. Both of them with 3-second time penalties. Baton with the hard compound tire and Shane Bolin on the medium compound tire. And Baton has done many laps as well. And I think that's going to benefit Bolin definitely a lot more. And now Jonathan, I think he's got a penalty, but he's did a mistake or something as well, because his gap was 2 point some seconds. That has got back to 3.6 seconds. That is probably going to be the race for Jonathan as it stands. Maybe he's able to do something extraordinary, but I don't think with the laps remaining at the moment, he's going to be able to do that. We'll see what more is out there for offer for us to watch, and for these drivers to try and do the best they can for to have a chance, to have a better chance at victory, and to have a better chance of better positions as well as it stands. Lap 28 out of 36. These guys once again giving it everything. Shane Bolin and Baton fighting for P7 as it stands. The Mercedes and the Kick Sauber have fought all race long. I think we're focused on those the top on those from P3 to P5, but maybe we should shift some focus around here as well, because we've seen those guys overtake and fight every other lap almost since the start of the Grand Prix, but these ones we haven't seen much. But let's see it this time. Going through these guys, Shane Bolin ahead of Baton, then going pretty smoothly, going pretty nicely so far. But is he going to be able to defend? How good is he going to be able to defend from there? And there's a yellow flag behind, and it's going to be one of the Ferraris that has spun, that has came off. Cinders has so many spins, and he's not been able to keep it together so far. But is it Shane going to be able to keep it together for P7? He's going to have some battery to deploy, but Baton's going to have even more. But he's in fact harvesting on the straights. Now using all of it, but he's going to be able to only stay in P8 at the moment so far. Bollins, Baton and Shane Bollins able to defend. I think Baton didn't deploy any ERS. If he did so, that was going to be game over for him. But he's going to try and now get him around here, and that is a very smart decision. But he doesn't manage to overtake, because he knew if he was going to overtake on the previous straight, he was going to get overtaken on this one. And now the retirement from the race, and that is Daddy Cool out of the Grand Prix, and now only 12 remain in the race so far. As it stands, Daddy Cool now retires out of the Grand Prix as well. That is pretty interesting, and oh my gosh, that is definitely not good. And I wonder how are we going to get an invite for the race, because we've got disconnected. Streams running all good, but we've gotten disconnected from the race so far. So we have an update on One Kidney Jim, who spun and couldn't do anything, but we are disconnected again. This is something not good. We are going to try and get back into the session once again. We got disconnected for more than not one but 2 times. Hopefully we're invited very, very soon so we could get back, because this is very interesting to see as it stands. Are we going to have an invite? We do have an invite very, very soon. There we go, we got an invite from Demir, and it's going to be very, very interesting to get it. Hopefully no more disconnections, hopefully no more problems from here. We had a great race so far, and a greater one to have a look at actually, and we'll see how this one goes as well. Only 5 to 6 laps remaining in the Grand Prix. But I'm sure we will be able to do a lot of it, and so much more of it that we'll be able to do, and that'll be very, very nice to get what we can get. As there you go, we are into the session now, and now only 11 of the drivers remain, and we leave for a little bit of moment, and there's debris out on track, and there is a lot that we missed and we don't see it all, and that is some soft tires for some drivers, and Demir must have been one of them, because it is Cinders currently P11, Demir running P10, looking so far so good for 1 point for the RB team. Both the McLarens, One Kidney Jim and Zone and Angry Badger, who got disqualified, are out of this race. 11 out of 16 remaining at this point of the Grand Prix, and these guys, Phoenix Gray at the moment in P3 actually. Haven't seen him in the top 3 at the moment, but he's done it once again, and we're going to try and have a look as it stands who's going to be coming out on top, and they almost go 3 wide and almost at a huge collision, but it is going to be Ali who moves from inside to the outside line, manages to overtake and gets it long, but he has to bail out then, I think, and now gets overtaken by Goblin once again. There you go, one more time we're having those problems, and this time it's a huge gap between Baton and Shane Bolin. Maybe one of those drivers has had a spin, and it's going to be mostly Shane Bolin because it's a huge gap and Bolin's be the one behind. So this is worrying to see. Those guys the most closest to each other are far away, and Jonathan's tyre advantage not working much though. Sure, he's going to keep 6th place and be better than Baton, but not any good for that top 5 finish. But there's just only 2 laps of the Grand Prix now remain, as it will be. Nimble currently at the top, and the gap to P2 is 26 seconds. 26 all seconds to block as it stands. It's a huge victory for Nimble. Honestly, I don't want to say anything, but the last time that for a driver to win by that much long margin was a driver who got exposed for cheating, but I'm sure Nimble's not the one, and he's done it all on merit, and definitely this is some exceptional performance, and this has to be appreciated, and this will be read in the history books if he's able to do that today, as the gap now only increases from 26 to 27 as the laps go from 34 to 35 as well, and he's got now just 2 more laps to navigate through the track to get it back home, to get it home, to make it 2 in a row from Australia to Mexico for Nimble to the top again. He's still got laps to go, he's still got track to go, but these 3, I think this is going to be a battle for the history as well, a battle to be remembered as well, no matter who comes out on the podium or who comes out on top. It of course is going to be Goblin with the penalties to all the other 2. This is definitely a battle to remember and battle to have a look at as well. Let's have a look at the penalties of how long, how big they have. It's Phoenix and block, of course, 3 seconds, but Ali actually 6 seconds penalties. That means Phoenix is going to finish P4 as well, and of course with Goblin having no penalty, it's going to be P3 for him. Of course, these guys fight each other out there. I think Goblin's not going to mind because both the drivers have penalties behind and are going to finish behind him, but I'm sure he wants to do that on track as well, and definitely that feeling of doing it on track is a lot better than getting it because of a penalty of the other driver. So the Ferrari driver, but the Mercedes and the Red Bull very close to each other, both getting lapped by Nimble, but very close to each other. Then Jonathan now moves to 7th place, and why is Jonathan close to Shane Bolin? Maybe he's lapping him as well, because not sure what's the case, but okay, Jonathan has actually pitted as it stands. He knew that he was going to stand out for P7, maybe. Not sure why he's giving up on P7, but pitted for the soft compound tire. Maybe something had to happen, and it is going to be Nimble who's taken the final lap of the Grand Prix so far, and it is going to be another race win for Nimble from Australia to Mexico, as we said, and his fuel is coming down as well. But I think he's dominated the whole field by a mile, and it is going to be a victory by more than not 5 seconds, not 10, 15 or 20 seconds, but a whole almost 30 seconds as it stands so far. And it's going to be fireworks for the man in Ferrari, for the man in Scarlet Red. It's going to be victory number 2 in a row for Nimble, and he wins it here in Mexico. And it's going to be Block, who at the moment currently running 2nd place on track, who's done 22 laps on those hard compound tires as well, but he's hugely over 30 seconds behind Nimble at the moment. So we have to wait a little before he could come and finish and take that checkered flag. But he's going to be coming across that final corner now to get it, to make it a podium for himself and the Kickstarter team as well. That is going to be P2 for him. block finishes in P2, and Goblin, who made a mistake earlier in the race but manages to make P2 3, is going to take that checkered flag as well, with Phoenix in P4 and Ali completing the top 5, with Baton yet to take the checkered flag, still going around, still taking it what it is, still trying to do what he can do, still making the most of it. And actually Shane Bolin finishes P8 and Lil Drips does P9, have taken the checkered flag. And Baton, Jonathan, I don't know why Jonathan gave up on that 6th place though, but we'll see how it stands after the race. And it is going to be Baton finishing 6th and Jonathan in 7th place, and that is going to be it for the Mexico City Grand Prix. Hope you enjoyed it. This was fantastic, a great race overall, and what a victory by Nimble. A huge victory and a huge margin now. And what a victory. This definitely has to be celebrated a long time. For a long time, this has to be remembered as well. A victory over 30 seconds at Mexico by Nimble, the Canadian man on top with that victory. He's definitely going to remember that, but I'm sure he's got many more of those. There we go. Those are your podium celebrations. A Ferrari, Alpine and the Kick Sauber at the top 3, as Ferrari's going to take all the limelight tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Here almost the whole field had the penalties. Only the ones that didn't have a penalty in this race were the 2 in the top 3. That was Goblin and a Nimble, who did not have a 3-second time penalty. All of those drivers did, and even some more of them. So Jonathan in the end takes the extra point for that fastest lap, but not sure why he's done that, unless there was a problem or damage for him. This was fantastic, and this was definitely a great race. Hope you enjoyed it. This was definitely a great stream to do so as well. Apologies for the quality. I know it's not one of the best, unfortunately, having some issues on the other internet. So I hope you're going to enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed it. And this will be it for the Mexico City Grand Prix. Catch you up next time with even better and best performances.